It began like any other morning. Birds stirred in the Arizona sky, the air still warm with summer's breath. Children brushed their teeth, backpacks were zipped, and the world, for most, moved on like always. But inside one home, a quiet horror was beginning to take root. A 7-year-old boy named J.J. Vallow, full of light and energy, never made it to school that day. His sister, Tylee Ryan, just 16, with dreams bigger than her small-town world, hadn't been seen for days, and no one seemed to notice. There were no missing posters, no urgent police alerts, just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't come from peace, but from something buried. When the grandparents called to hear JJ's voice, there was no answer. When they asked Lori, his mother, where the children were, she only smiled. That smile, empty, distant, almost rehearsed, would become the face of a tragedy darker than anyone could have imagined. And by the time the world began to ask questions, it was already too late. Because the children were not just missing, they were never coming home. Tylee Ryan was just 16, smart, sarcastic, fiercely protective of her little brother. She loved photography, dreamed of moving to California, and often joked that she had to grow up too fast. After all, her life had already seen too many homes, too many fathers. But through it all, she held her brother's hand like a shield. Joshua J.J. Vallow, only 7, was the kind of boy who left joy in his wake. Diagnosed with autism, he needed structure. His blanket, his routine, his mother. He adored fire trucks, dinosaurs, and hugs that lasted too long. To the world, they were just kids, loud, messy, wonderful. To their family, they were everything. But behind closed doors, that love was cracking. Tylee was growing suspicious of her mother's strange new beliefs. JJ had begun to act out, terrified by something he couldn't explain. And Lori, their mother, had stopped calling them her children. She started calling them something else, zombies. The innocence was still there, but darkness was moving in, and no one, not even the children, could understand what was coming next. September 8th, 2019. The last photo ever taken of Tylee Ryan shows her smiling at Yellowstone National Park. She stands beside her brother JJ, holding him tight, as if she already knew. It was goodbye. By September 23rd, JJ was seen alive for the last time. He attended school that morning. Teachers said he seemed confused, tired. That night, Lori pulled him out of class, told staff she'd be homeschooling him now. But JJ never logged into school again. He never played with his toys again. He was gone. Lori didn't file a missing person report. She didn't even tell family. She flew to Hawaii, got married on a beach with Chad Daybell, her doomsday prophet. And when JJ's grandparents called, desperate to hear their grandson's voice, Lori laughed. Don't worry, he's safe. But he wasn't. Somewhere between that last school day and a warm, smiling wedding photo, 2 children vanished, and Lori Vallow never looked back. Later, police would uncover digital records, pings, and quiet text messages between Lori and Chad. Messages that whispered of spirits, darkness, and death. One message called Tylee a possessed body. Another referred to JJ simply as gone. No police report, no search, no grief. Only silence, and beneath it, a secret buried in Idaho soil. When JJ's grandparents, Larry and Kay Woodcock, stopped hearing from their grandson, something inside Kay shattered. JJ used to FaceTime them every other day, laughing, showing them his toys, asking when they'd visit. Then, nothing. No calls, no updates, no goodbye. At first, they thought it was a mistake, then a misunderstanding. Then, they felt the chill of something far worse. They called Lori. She gave excuses. He's with a friend. He's too busy. But her voice was light, distant, as if she didn't care, as if JJ didn't even exist. So they called the police. A welfare check was issued. Police knocked on Lori's door in Rexburg, Idaho. She smiled and told them JJ was with a family friend in Arizona. But when detectives followed up the next day, the house was empty. Lori was gone. So was Chad Daybell. And Tylee? No one had seen her in over a month. Panic set in. The media picked up the case. Headlines screamed, "Where are the children?" The FBI got involved. Search warrants were issued. Friends were questioned. But Lori stayed silent. No emotion. No urgency. Just that same cold smile. Meanwhile, Larry Woodcock stood before the cameras with tears running down his face. "I don't care what trouble she's in. I just want my boy back." But somewhere deep down, the family already feared the truth. They weren't looking for children anymore. They were searching for remains. As investigators dug deeper, Lori's lies began to unravel, but so did the hearts of everyone who loved those children. She told friends JJ was with her friend Melanie, but Melanie swore she hadn't seen him. She claimed Tylee was in college, but there were no school records, no emails, no trace. The police found Lori and Chad living in Hawaii, sunbathing, dancing on the beach, while the world searched for her children. When asked where JJ and Tylee were, Lori gave one answer: "They're fine." But there were no birthday photos, no texts, no video calls, only silence and cold, chilling calm. Meanwhile, disturbing evidence surfaced. Text messages from Lori to Chad referring to the children as zombies. Google searches about how to hide a body. Phone pings placing Lori's brother, Alex Cox, at Chad's backyard, the very nights the children were last seen. Tylee, the spirited teen, had once confided in friends, "Something's wrong with Mom." And JJ? He had started screaming at night, crying without reason. Each clue bled into the next, and with every lie Lori told, the hope of finding them alive faded into grief. June 9th, 2020. After months of searching, praying, and begging for answers, the FBI arrived at Chad Daybell's Idaho property with shovels, cadaver dogs, and a silent storm of dread. They weren't just searching anymore. They were digging. The backyard, once a peaceful stretch of grass, had a patch of disturbed earth, almost carefully shaped, as if someone had tried to bury a secret, not too deep. The dogs stopped. The shovels hit plastic, and then a smell, the kind that ends hope. J.J. Vallow was found first, buried in a shallow grave, his tiny body wrapped in black plastic bound with duct tape. He was still in his red pajamas, still clinging to the world he never got to grow in. Nearby, the remains of Tylee Ryan were uncovered, but not whole, burned, dismembered, so badly destroyed they had to identify her by DNA from bone fragments. Chad stood on the porch as agents unearthed the horror, blinking, silent. Lori? She was still in Hawaii, smiling for the camera, wearing a wedding ring, claiming the children were happy and safe. But the truth was now in the ground. The children were never missing. They were murdered and buried by the very people who were supposed to protect them. The case had broken open, but the heartbreak was just beginning. The courtroom was packed. The air was heavy, not with noise, but with grief. Lori Vallow Daybell entered wearing a light-colored blouse and an emotionless expression. No tears, no shame, just that same chilling smile. She represented herself, as if this were all just a misunderstanding, as if she hadn't buried her children and moved on with a beach wedding. The jury listened as prosecutors painted the truth. A mother who called her children zombies. A woman who believed she was a goddess chosen to survive the end of the world, but only if her children were gone. A heart that had grown so dark, even her son, Colby Ryan, said, "You took everyone from me. I will never understand how you sleep at night." The evidence was damning. Phone records, text messages about dark spirits, forensic proof from Chad's backyard. Lori showed no remorse. She even told the court, "The children visit me. They're happy where they are." The courtroom went silent, not in shock anymore, but disgust. In July 2023, Lori was sentenced in Idaho, life in prison without the possibility of parole. 2 more life sentences followed in Arizona for her role in the murder of her ex-husband, Charles Vallow, and attempted murder of her niece's husband. Judge Boyce said it plainly, "You've shown no remorse, only manipulation." You will never walk free again. But for the families left behind, justice could never bring the children back. They called her the Doomsday Mom. But in truth, Lori Vallow Daybell was something far more terrifying. A mother who wrapped her children in bedtime stories of light and salvation, only to bury them in darkness. Even in sentencing, she never said sorry, never cried, never whispered their names with regret. She spoke of spirits, of heavenly visions. She said her children told her not to worry, that they were fine. But JJ's tiny body told a different story. Tylee's broken remains screamed the truth Lori refused to face. Her surviving son, Colby, summed it best. You didn't just kill them, you killed every part of me too. Now Lori spends her life behind bars. No visions, no prophecies, no beach weddings, just silence. And that silence echoes louder than any scream. Because monsters don't always hide in shadows. Sometimes they hold your hand, kiss your forehead goodnight, and tell you they'll protect you, even as they dig your grave. Fade to black. On screen text, in memory of Tylee Ryan and Joshua J.J. Vallow, you were loved, you were light, you deserved the world.